we have to talk about this guy. Now, please bear with us for a little bit here. Okay. Before I even start to talk about this guy.
This is the big story.
Guys, I want to lay this down. When it comes to politics, okay, I can't stand it. I'm not American, first of all, okay? Trump, Biden, Trump, Harris, nothing to do with me, all right? I'll be honest with you. I don't pick a side, and I don't take a sides with this. I really don't. I see what's positive on both sides and what's negative on both sides. The way politics are treated in America is like a religion. It annoys me to no end because people can't see the wood for the trees. You know, the other day we mentioned on the show that some of the policies from the Biden government against like the chips and things like that.
In China, yeah.
Yeah, the policies against China.
Great.
We said that some of those policies were good.
Absolutely.
Because we said some of the policies from Biden's government are good, people thought we were raging Biden supporters.
By the way, some of Trump's China policies were great.
Yes.
Biden's were great. We support the things that are in America's best interest,
Exactly.
in our opinion.
Yeah. So just because of that incident, I wanted to make it very clear here. A policy from a certain government or certain things that, you know, under Biden's government or under Trump's government doesn't mean that we support, like, we're suddenly like a left winger or a right winger.
No.
And that's what annoys me is people, they get so trapped in like their figurehead. They have to support this person. And if you say something's good from the other guy, then suddenly you're a traitor.
Yes.
No, it's not that. Okay. So I wanted to get that out the way because there's a very, very dangerous thing happening right now.
Yes.
In the political sphere. This guy that you see on screen here, his name is Jeffrey Sachs. He is a World Economic Fund, like one of the biggest guys in the World Economic Fund. So if you want to talk about globalism or deep state or whatever, this you're looking at him.
Right.
Okay. This guy is a propagandist for the CCP. He appears on Chinese state media every week. He is a stringer on CGTN and on Xinhua New China Daily. This guy is used by the Chinese government and Shill's daily. You cannot go to any like weird pro-Russia sites, weird pro-China sites. This guy's used as an expert. He's brought on every time. Okay. And he's like a chameleon. He changes his colors.
Yes.
But there's one thing that he always does is he blames America first for everything.
Yes.
He supports dictators but blames America.
Yes.
And he doesn't do it in a constructive way. He's not there to say, hey, we've got a problem, let's fix it. He is like, America needs to be burned to the ground and we got to give the power to the dictators.
Assad was not a bad guy.
According to him.
The Chinese government is good and the Belt and Road Initiative is good.
Yeah, Xi Jinping, the Communist Party is great.
The Kremlin is good.
Mm-hmm.
Any dictatorship.
Maduro, whatever, from Venezuela.
Yes.
This guy,
Maduro.
he will support any power that is not America. Mm-hmm. And he will not criticize them. No. He will only criticize America. This guy's very dangerous. He's an academic. He's very smart. And he's used as an expert.
He is ABP.
Okay.
Play ABP real quick.
I will.
You know.
Yeah.
America Bad Party.
America Bad Party. America Bad at all costs.
Yeah. Now, the reason we're bringing this up is this guy was featured in a very long interview, like a 2-hour interview on Tucker Carlson's show. And he's boosted by Elon Musk. Now, think what you will about Tucker Carlson or Elon Musk. Again, I don't want to get into that debate because, you know what? People support them, people don't support them. That's up to you. It's your own personal choice. What I have to point out is that if you see this guy, Jeffrey Sachs, being used as an expert, you know that you are listening to Chinese propaganda. Okay, that's our wheelhouse. We talk about Chinese propaganda. This guy is a Chinese propagandist. Now, I'd also like to show you what kind of a bullshit chameleon this guy is. So I want to show you this little clip. I'd like you to pay attention.
Counting on President Trump to change this. I think his instinct is right. I think his sense is right. He stands to be a great and historic president.
So he said that on the Tucker Carlson show, okay? Because he knows right now this is going to get him the best way to attack America is to pretend to be pro-Trump. Because that's, if you go on and you're negative towards Trump on the Tucker Carlson show, it's not going to work, right? Let's see what he said just a year or two ago.
Trump was a psychopath and absolutely incapable of honest behavior, either within the United States or internationally. So try to have global cooperation with a psychopathic president whose motto is America first.
I'm counting on President Trump to change this. I think his his instinct is right. I think his sense is right.
But Trump was a psychopath and absolutely incapable of honest behavior. It certainly never went through the head of that dingbat president of ours.
So I just wanted to show you. He's like, he's going to be a great president. I trust him to do this. Oh, he's a psychopath dingbat president when it suited him last time. It doesn't end there.
He stands to be a great and historic president. I think the Biden administration has been the worst of our governments in modern history.
Last year was the worst. Not only was the pandemic overtaking our politics in each of our countries, but we had Donald Trump as president. But Trump was a psychopath and absolutely incapable of honest behavior, either within the United States or internationally. So try to have global cooperation with a psychopathic president whose motto is America first.
So did you see how, first of all, he's like, the Biden administration is the worst. Then he's like, no, Trump is the worst.
Show. Yeah. And then prior to that, he said Trump's administration is the worst.
Look at what he's saying. He's saying a psychopathic president whose motto is America first.
Yes. I like how that's said in a derogatory way, by the way.
So if you are America first, you're a psychopathic president.
Yes.
You're bad.
It kind of shows what his goal is.
Because he doesn't want America to be first. He wants America to be last.
He supports dictators.
Yes.
He is what we call a tanky. Dictatorship is better. He will
tanky.
Support whatever gets him populist support at the moment.
Yes.
And say the complete opposite. Right now, going forward, now you understand he's obviously a flip flopper, but we need to talk about why this is bad.
Yeah, and
this is his vehicle.
Again, this is why I want to say, this idea of accepting a person just because he supports your leader at the time or your preferred candidate, you can see just how damaging someone like this is. Because now he's pro-Trump. Look how pro-Trump he is. Yeah. He's like, I expect that he knows what he's doing.
But he's a leftist, by the way.
Yeah, he's a massive leftist. Yeah.
So it's very
And he's globalist, World Economic Fund, deep state guy.
This is the crazy thing. Is this guy was platformed on Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah.
Who does nothing but talk about the deep state and WEF.
Yes.
But then has a guy from the WEF deep state, right, talk about and platform him and not challenge him on anything he said.
Correct.
Except how bad America is,
didn't
how
ask
it's
him
going to destroy the world, and he promoted China.
Yeah, and didn't ask him why he called Trump a psychopathic dingbat. Oh, and many other things. But we're not done.
It just doesn't work.
I think the Biden administration has been the worst.
Last year was the worst.
But surely in a context like this is a catastrophe largely created by the U.S. because, as was said earlier, this is an all or nothing strategy. What Trump just doesn't understand.
I'm counting on President Trump to change this. I think his instinct is right. I think his sense is right.
But Trump was a psychopath.
So a Venezuelan tweeted this out. He said, here's Tucker Carlson's great expert blaming Donald Trump and America for destroying my native Venezuela. He's a puppet of socialist tyrants and the United States, one of my...
United Nations.
Sorry, United Nations. Why did I say United States? It's just on the brain. One of the many evil apologists of socialist regime that destroyed my country.
That's from a Venezuelan.
That's from a Venezuelan. And for people who are familiar with the China sphere like we are, we know this guy to be a complete apologist for the Chinese Communist Party.
CCP Shill.
We have a little bit of proof of that, by the way. Mr. Kasparov, who you may know as a very smart man,
chess champion.
He's a world chess champion, had this to say. He said, Sachs is one of the many leftists whose pro-authoritarian socialism has been revealed to be simple anti-Americanism at its core. The brutality of Maduro, Xi, Assad, Putin, it all gets swept aside to blame America first. Tucker and Musk promote him for their own isolationist agenda. Or goals, I should say, sorry. And he retweeted something I put out, which was, so the guy hates Trump, hates America, hates Biden, worships dictators, and is China's most prolific state media propagandist, but he's some sort of expert to be trusted. How does this happen? The guy literally wants the West to fail. And that's because for many years now, we've both been keeping an eye on the Chinese propaganda outlets.
Yes.
We've both been keeping an eye on the China shills. And this Jeffrey Sachs has been interviewed and been part of some of the worst, most bottom of the barrel,
overt CCP propaganda,
and Russian too,
You
know, the gray zone. He's been on. He's been on all these. You know, we're talking about really bad anti-America, anti-West organizations use this guy to further their agendas. So to see him now being shared out to millions and millions and millions of people by somebody that they trust, like Tucker Carlson or Elon Musk, is such a gut punch to anyone who has any sort of common sense
or is pro-democracy.
Yeah,
right. Why are we platforming? Not we. Why is Tucker platforming a guy that wants America to fail at all costs and has proven that he will change to any team that he thinks will further that goal?
Correct.
Or get him a voice to be able to do this anti-American propaganda. I would be so worried if this guy ever went out, this Sachs guy ever went out and endorsed like the political candidate or something, like someone that was going to take a specific office or something. If he started pushing someone like that, that would be worrying, because that means that is working towards his goal of America failing.
Yes,
right? It's
and
super
China
worrying.
taking over, Russia taking over, anyone who's opposing America. Because
I was going to say, until you realize it doesn't matter. It just it's who will make America fail.
This guy has never criticized China. He doesn't criticize any of the adversaries of America. He always criticizes America, and whether it's the Bush administration, whether it's Ronald Reagan, whether it's Clinton, it's always something. Venezuela's failures because of America. The Nord Stream pipeline.
But Venezuela's dictator is good.
He pushed the Nord Stream pipeline narrative. He was used as a expert on all the Russian TV and all of the China TV and every other adversary
about how America blew up the Nord Stream
pipeline.
He
is the guy who they got on to ratify this and to say yes. And he didn't say it's a possibility. He said America did destroy the pipeline.
Right. He also he also didn't say that COVID came from China.
He said COVID came from America.
Yes.
We'll show you in a minute. Anyway, this was a nice little breakdown. I'm not familiar with this particular individual too much, but he wrote a very, very succinct thing here. He said, Jeffrey Sachs critiques the West from a position of extreme bias. Most prominently, he is deeply intertwined with the Chinese Communist Party. Did he not find time in the Tucker interview to disclose the fact that he had a paid position promoting China's Belt and Road Initiative?
Show you that in a minute.
Did he disclose that he believes the U.S. is responsible for COVID? He blames Fauci, but with a sleight of hand in mind. And that China is a scapegoat? Did he disclose that he helped write a position paper for the Chinese telecom giant Huawei? You know, when the Huawei kidnapping, hostage diplomacy thing happened? He defended Huawei. He actually left Twitter because of that whole thing. He wrote a massive thing to say how Huawei's innocent and Huawei's amazing and all that other crap, because he's a big Huawei guy.
Anybody that was involved with apologizing for Huawei and accepting China's hostage taking is to be under serious scrutiny, in my opinion.
Correct. Did he inform the audience that he is listed as a senior researcher for a CCP-controlled Chinese state institution? Did he tell the audience that he is the most prominent non-Chinese anti-American voice on Chinese state media, and that he appears on Chinese state media every single week to praise the CCP and castigate American society?
Hundreds of times.
Now, we've got proof.
And you get people saying, well, Tucker's just trying to listen to, some differing opinions. You platformed a China shill for the CCP that wants the destruction of America. That goes on there every week.
Yes.
It's so on the nose.
If you watch any of his things on Chinese state media, he's always trashing America.
Yes.
He trashes America.
Because it furthers their goal.
Yeah. Sachs believes America is the problem in the world, and his solution is to grant power and influence to America's adversaries. He's a propagandist and a hardcore leftist. He is infatuated with China, and he despises the foundations of America. Don't take the bait. Sachs is undoubtedly a professional and high-level operative. He advances legitimate critiques about the American government and our ruling class, which recruits an audience of Americans who are under the impression that he comes from a place of virtue and good intentions. But at the end of the day, he seeks American decline.
I don't know, this Jordan guy, I don't know who he is, but he said it better than I ever could.
Exactly. Sachs is a demagogue.
Yes.
That's what he is.
Yes.
And he will latch on to issues that people find very dear.
And the current ruling party.
Yeah, exactly. He will latch onto these issues and push them, but not to try and resolve the issues, not to try and bring change, but to actually destroy America. That's his end goal, is to give power to China.
So why
and Russia and the World Economic Fund and the deep state and, globalization.
Then why is he being platformed by people that spoke out against those
Yes,
things?
that's the craziest part, is that he's being platformed by the very people that usually are against globalization
And
deep
deep
state
state.
and WEF.
Yeah.
And
You put the
that type of thing.
guy on.
You put
gave him the guy a chair.
He is that.
He's the thing.
He's all of that. He's a Soros bro. He's wrapped up in everything, and you're like using him as an expert. What?
And don't challenge anything he says, and allow him to share Chinese propaganda, and go. I mean, it gets me so upset.
Yeah.
It gets me so freaking upset.
Yeah.
It's insane what just happened. And then, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to trample anyone, because we're not going to get. I don't want to trample anyone's feelings here.
Yeah.
But to then go on that show, not be challenged,
Not be challenged
be
at all.
platformed by the guy that hates all those things.
Yeah.
And then promoted by Elon Musk and retweeted saying, interesting.
Yeah.
This was an interesting interview. I think we're in this realm of post-truth.
Yes.
Where now, to get around actually just saying, yes, I love China, I love the Chinese government, and I like their money. I like dictatorships. I hate the US, and I hate America and Americans. Instead of saying those things, now you say, just asking questions, bro. Those are just kind of interesting questions, bro. That's how you dance around it.
Yeah.
Right? That is the cowardly way to deal with things. Just say what you are. Just
Yes.
say it.
You know what? It's kind of like if you had a dying person, okay?
Yes.
And you don't know how to save them. But you know of a doctor. But this doctor hates that person.
Mm-hmm.
This doctor actually wants that person to die. And you bring him in like, how do we fix this guy? How do we make him healthy? And he's like, well, what we could do is we could inject some arsenic into him and feed him some antifreeze. And you're like, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That's what's happening
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Anyway, some highlights from Sachs state media reel. China is not a threat to the US, but to US hegemony. US meddling only endangers Taiwan. China's problem is the US's policies. China is not the enemy. Corporate greed is. This is just a little bit, but there are far worse ones than that. This is a cursory look. If I search his name on CGTN, for instance, he appears there weekly. But if you were to look at any of these,
China's propaganda.
that
arm.
is the
arm of the propaganda department in China.
100% funded by the Chinese government. 100%,
beyond that. It's the propaganda
is.
arm.
You may not have
Yes.
an opinion that the Chinese government doesn't want. These are just some of the videos that he appears in on CGTN. Because, there are hundreds and hundreds of these things. New China TV, again.
The
he
arm
appears,
of the China's propaganda department.
And if you look at some of these titles, you'll see that every single one of them is talking about how America sucks and China's good, and how it's America's
He
fault.
does not
Yeah.
criticize China. He appears on their propaganda department to make America fail.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Now, do you understand why we're talking about this?
Why
Because-
we'd be upset? Because we don't get involved in this.
No, we don't get involved in the whole Israel versus Palestine versus whatever politics, because that's not our wheelhouse. We
talk about China.
We talk about China. And this guy is a Chinese propagandist who is now being used and promoted by very influential people. And that's why we're talking about it, because we know this guy and we know how dangerous he is. He's a massive King Tanky.
King conservative, Mr. Tucker, all due respect, is platforming a radical socialist anarchist at this point, Tanky,
Yes.
who only promotes dictatorships and hates America.
Yeah, I mean,
Why?
look, here's a video.
Why?
Here's a video where he's used as an expert. Jeffrey Sachs, U.S. biotech cartel behind COVID origins and cover-up.
You gotta be kidding me! And this
On
is
the
on
gray
on a
zone.
communist platform, by the way.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you can't get any. He is an enemy to America, this guy. He's an enemy to every American person. He is not out to fix the problems in America. He's out to destroy it. All right? And all of America's adversaries use him. Russian TV,
Yes.
Russian state media
TV.
uses him.
Yes.
Chinese state media
And
uses
all their
him.
amplifiers.
Correct. We're harping on about this, but that's because it's important. If you ever see this guy turn up, you need to be forewarned. You need to have knowledge. All right. Here, I'm a very big supporter of the Belt and Road, initiative. U.S. economist Jeffrey Sachs.
Xinhua is
On
funded.
Xinhua, yeah,
whole
it's
or in
funded
part
in.
by the
Yeah,
Chinese
exactly.
government.
So he's out there supporting all of China's ambitions of all their neocolonialism, all of that kind of stuff. He's got no criticisms of that.
No.
The human rights abuses, anything.
I don't like that we're now living in a country where it is being embraced by both sides to just hate America at all costs without offering solutions.
Yes.
And then at the same time, you get duped. I think that guy you showed us tweets, offered the best perspective on this. You get duped because you say that's a legitimate criticism of the American government.
Yeah.
And now you're in the Trojan horse with Jeffrey Sachs
And
as
Soros
he
and whoever
storms
else.
in,
Yeah.
or whoever you think is the
Yeah,
enemy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Storms in the gates into the U.S. with the actual purpose of destroying it on behalf of foreign adversaries.
Correct.
And my favorite thing about this was in this interview with Tucker, right? Do you know what he said?
What?
He said, China doesn't, this is why we're supposed to get along with
Yeah.
China. China doesn't threaten America. I'm sorry, but what do you call Salt and Volt Typhoon?
Yes.
When the Chinese government hired hackers to target civilian infrastructure, not military,
Yeah, yeah.
civilian water and electrical supply, to turn off people's things to cause anarchy and chaos in America so that they implode, so we implode,
Yeah.
and they can invade Taiwan.
Yeah.
You can't just go on a platform, Tucker's platform, and say China doesn't threaten the U.S. China only threatens the U.S. Only threatens the U.S.
Have you ever seen Chinese state media? It's mad
You're blind.
anti-American.
You're blind.
It's crazy. I mean, never mind the fact that they, in a very real way, damaged the U.S. through COVID by covering it up, you know, and through all these predatory practices of taking over the shipping, you know, forcing Temu and Shine and all that stuff, which take advantage of the developing nation status. There's a lot of things we could harp on about, but it's not necessary. Just wanted to point out, because there was a very funny thing that happened on Twitter, X. I said this guy shouldn't be trusted because he's a Chinese Communist Party shill. Somebody said, yeah, that's exactly what a deep state shill would say to me.
Deep State W,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'm like, dude, Jeffrey Sachs is the deep state. Look at him. He
Like,
is.
if you believe in this deep state thing,
Yeah.
that's a different
Then
topic.
he is.
Yeah.
Then
he's the guy.
He is the deep state. Look, the World Economic Forum, Jeffrey D. Sachs, agenda contributor, co-chair advisory board, Global Competitiveness, World Economic Forum.
Director of the Earth Institute, Columbia
Yeah.
University.
He is.
in the
He
WEF.
is.
He's getting platformed by these people that hate the WEF so much. What's going on?
I know. There he is at the World Government Summit. You want to talk about globalization? Anyone who's got a problem with globalization should have a problem with Jeffrey Sachs, because he is globalization.
But he
is like the
platformed-
embodiment of globalization.
But he got platformed on an anti-globalist thing.
Yeah, I know. That's the point.
What's happening here?
That's why I'm saying whether you agree with globalization
Yeah,
or not is
yeah,
not the
that doesn't
point
matter.
here. The point is that he's being platformed and boosted by people that are against globalization, but he is globalization.
Yes.
You could take him and squeeze him into a ball and draw the continents on him. He is a
Yes.
globe. You know, and then slam dunk him into the cesspit where he belongs. Anyway, sorry. But I'm serious, you know. This is another one of his quotes from a speech he gave, where he's like, all the major problems we face are global, and here I include everything from COVID-19 to climate change, the collapse of biodiversity, mass blah, 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 blah. At the end of the thing, he's like, Trump was foolish. It's proof of the idiocy of the America First. Yeah, sorry, he is proof of the idiocy of the America First concept.
And now Trump's his hero.
Exactly.
It shows you. This is slimy foreign influence. This is what this is.
You see how he's talking about accelerating globalization, which is what he wants, because he's a globalist. But again, it points out he hates Trump. So if somebody's going to have a staunch point of view like that, if you go out there and you say you hate Trump and you call him a dingbat, you call him a psychopath like he did, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, Trump is great. I trust what he's going to do. He's going to be a great president.
Yeah.
You know, how can anyone take this person seriously? Because if you're willing to flip-flop like that, it just shows that you are not sincere, that you have a weird agenda. And in this case, he has the agenda of weakening America and strengthening China and Russia.
Appearing on Chinese state media of the propaganda arm hundreds of times over and over again to only talk about the downfall of America and how the CCP is good. It should already tell you that.
And this is another, as you can see, here's an article by Jeffrey D. Sachs, Trump's last stand for apartheid America. I am a South African. I know a lot about apartheid, so I thought I'd just bring this up. He says, the long history of America's state-sponsored racism will draw to an end in the coming generation, yet the damage that Trump's brand of white nationalism could still cause to the U.S. and the world if he wins a second term makes the election easily the most important in modern American history. Do you see this? He said, and I'll say this again, The long history of America's state-sponsored racism will draw to an end in the coming generation. Yet the damage that the Trump's brand of white nationalism could still cause the U.S. and the world if he wins a second term.
What a slime ball
Yeah.
to flip-flop like that.
Yeah, he's literally saying, oh no, if Trump gets a second term, then his white nationalism, racism, America's state-sponsored racism is going to flourish. He's bad. And then he's like, oh, I trust Trump. I think he's, he
Yes.
could be a great president.
What a slime ball.
Why? I'm pretty sure that all the things he's saying here, like, again, whether you agree with him or not, I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson doesn't take this stance. Or Elon Musk.
I have no
I'm
idea.
pretty
At
sure.
this point, I have no idea. You know what I want to watch?
What?
I'll ask the audience to do this. Tell me, going forward, because
Yeah.
I do want to point something out where we got this right. When we started seeing some things like Tucker start talking about Russian talking points, like pro-Kremlin talking points,
Yeah.
we never talked about it too much because we talk about China, right?
Right.
But we did say there is a slippery slope, and we hope he doesn't end up doing China propaganda, right? I would be curious, and this is not an accusation, this is going forward, let's see.
Yeah.
I want to see if both Elon and Tucker ever, going forward, starting today,
Yeah.
go forward, criticize China.
Yeah.
If they don't, there's a big problem because that was a big part of his platform before, the threat of the Chinese government, which I agree with him on.
Yes.
I want to see, does Elon or Tucker criticize China going forward? I would be very curious. After this interview, I would be very curious to see that.
I'd also be very curious to see Jeffrey Ballsacks actually criticize China.
Yeah.
Which he
Please
won't.
try. Please try.
Yeah, he won't. He won't.
Anyway.
Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. We don't like to get political. It's something we really don't like to do on this show. And the only reason we're getting political is because it's deeply connected to what we do, which is China and Chinese propaganda. And to see one of China's most, in fact, the most prolific non-Chinese propagandist be put on blast by Tucker Carlson and
then
Elon Musk
retweeted by Elon, yeah.
is, and not just retweeted, Elon Musk has taken parts of the interview and tweeted them out himself.
Yeah. Oh, like just from the interview.
Yeah. We're seeing China's biggest propagandist be used as some kind of an expert
On
It's-
America.
It's a gut punch. It's like,
it
what are
hurts.
you doing?
We were disgusted.
Yeah, it's
we were
like-
so disgusted we had to talk about it.
You're putting America's enemy out there.
Yes.
And saying, listen to this man.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can go on.
By the
about
way, I
this
just
all
want to
day.
throw this out there. Tucker did platform him twice. 6 months ago, he had Jeffrey Sachs on as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Just letting you know.
The Royal Rumble is coming.
The annual The China Show's Royal Rumble is this year's main event.
Characters from the China Show come out one by one and they bring their beef.
The first year, Jaunty had a great performance,
Great.
but he wasn't so lucky the following year.
Tractor bulldozed Ballsack for a stunning victory in year 2.
Winston, Jaunty's been looking for his second victory, but he's really, for lack of better words, pissed at the Haze Runner because he, in fact, is the fastest man in the world.
I'm the fastest man in the world. Nobody can stop me.
Not that wheezing maniac.
Also, don't forget the new kid on the block, or should I say new brick in the wall, Mason, who's really angry with his neighbor Salte Waters, who plays his music too loud.
What a wonderful song. How come I've never heard it before?
It's been a little too much for Rick,
Wow, that's a little too much for me.
who's been replaced by Raging Roger. This is the feud of the year.
Join us at the Xiaoban Ho live tier to watch this year's main event, this year's Royal Rumble, as it happens with live commentary from C-Milk and Winston. You will be there and you will enjoy it. You will follow us, okay?
You'll follow me, okay?
Or you can support us at any other tier level to see it after it airs live.
Don't forget, you can gift patron memberships and bring the joy of the Royal Rumble to your family this season.
We'll see you in the ring on December 23rd at 5 p.m. EST. Be there or the frog gets peed on.